everyone! Today I have a very small book haul considering it's been 6 months since my last one. Almost 6 months since the last one. I have been very good this year. I haven't really bought any books. I have, however, been using my Kindle Unlimited subscription and I have gotten quite a few audiobooks that way, or used the unlimited subscription to get a deal on the audiobook where you can just add the audible narration for like $1.99 or $2.99. But I do have about 7 books that I purchased. Starting with Dark in Death by J.D. Robb. The In Death series is a series that I have been more or less obsessed with since I found it probably a little over 10 years ago. J.D. Robb is the pen name for Nora Roberts, but because Nora Roberts does more romancy type literary fiction, she changed her name to J.D. Robb to write the mystery. Similar to Victoria Schwab, where she writes under Victoria Schwab and V.E. Schwab, depending on if she's writing adult or YA fantasy. And I do have a full review of Dark in Death, which I will leave a link to in the description down below. I also finally grabbed Tower of Dawn, the Throne of Glass book 6, and listened to that. Enjoyed it very much. And I'm not going to talk much about this series because it's been talked about probably to death. And then, because I had enjoyed Everlife last year, I picked up Lifeblood by Jenna Showalter, which I did start listening to last month, maybe earlier this month. My time is all like blurring together. And it was not really pulling me in at all. I was not interested. I think I listened to 2 or 3 hours of the book and just said, nope. So maybe try again later, but right now it's looking like I will not be continuing that series. Then for Duodecathon, I picked up Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Everyone had been talking such wonderful things, and this met the requirement to read a book recommended by somebody else. I was interested in it based on what everyone was saying. I hadn't heard anything horrible about it, and everyone was right. This is a fantastic book. I did not regret purchasing this. Scythe is about an interesting world where nobody really dies anymore. And if you do die, you can be brought back to life. Wow. Creepy, actually. So since nobody dies, in order to keep the population in check, they have scythes that now go around killing people. And there's some politics in the scythedom, I don't know what you want to call it, that bring on some interesting conflicts. Then there's the whole conflict of nobody wants to be a scythe because nobody wants to take a life. They all feel that it's wrong, but understand that it's a necessary evil. So there's that whole like inner battle. And I'm totally not explaining this with any kind of justice for the book. So just go check out the official description of Scythe. And this next book is a book that was somewhat not recommended directly to me, but recommended on a channel that I watch for like a how-to YouTube or how to start your own business type channel. Was How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. I purchased the audiobook from Audible and holy crap, I very much enjoyed the way Lily explained things. I'm still looking to do a review of this book, but I wanted to reread it so that I could take some better notes because I was so enthralled in the book the first time that I was not like bookmarking or anything. It was just like, wow, I never thought about things that way. Oh wow, that's such a fun explanation. Plus, I listened to it while driving and such and didn't want to be, messing with the bookmark thing. So I do plan on either re-listening to it or I am considering picking up a physical copy or ebook just so that, I can reread it and give it a review worthy of the book. And the final book that I purchased was A Reaper at the Gates. I technically pre-ordered it, found out it came out earlier this month, but I found out like end of May, so I went out pre-ordered it because I was very much enjoying An Ember in the Ashes, which I just started reading earlier this year. So I borrowed An Ember in the Ashes from my library, and then I borrowed what was the second one, A Torch Against the Night, which I finished actually like a day or two after A Reaper at the Gates came out. I am actually currently listening to this one. I just started it though, so I'm not that far into it. Couldn't really tell you anything about the third book, and I don't think that I would want to because it would contain spoilers for the first two, so enough said there. Moving on to the Kindle Unlimited books that I got. Most recently, I picked up Six Heirs, which is the first book of a new, I think it's just a trilogy, and it's not really new, but new to me, by Pierre Grimbert. Grimbert. There's not in there. By Pierre Grimbert. This has assassins, which I haven't really had, but so I've kind of been craving assassins. Like, assassins is sounding really good to me, so I picked it up and will probably read it at this point after A Reaper at the Gates is finished, so hopefully it should be soon. This book is available through Kindle Unlimited as either an ebook or you can listen to it, so it offers both for just your Kindle Unlimited subscription. Another book that you can both read and listen to is Fountain of Secrets, which is the second book in the Relic Seekers by Anita Clenny. And this, I don't even remember when I read the first book, but I read it, I would guess maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't like outrageously good, but it was good enough that I thought about picking up the second book, and looking through, nothing else was really sparking my fancy, so I decided that I would at least pick this one up and I could have it to listen to or read if the desire struck. Being the second book, I'm not going to talk too much about this one. The first book, and it's a Relic Seekers series, is the name of the series, so it's kind of self-explanatory about what happens in the book. It's kind of like a Indiana Jones type story, but not Indiana Jones, but along those lines. This next book I grabbed because I've fallen in love with this author. You may have heard me talk about a series I found called the Secondborn series that I am like, woohoo, excited for. The second book just came out earlier this year, the third book is coming out, but that series is written by Amy A. Bartol. And after finding Secondborn, which is also available through Kindle Unlimited, but I got that one like last year, and I think I finally listened to it this year, end of last year, might have been end of last year. But after finding Secondborn, I looked up this author because I enjoyed Secondborn so much I wanted to read other books by this author. So I found Under Different Stars, which is the first book in another series called the Cricket series, but Cricket is Kriket. So some other kind of cricket. I didn't even look what it was about. I just saw the author, I went for book one, and we'll see where it goes. This next one I've actually had for a while. It is only available as an ebook through the Kindle Unlimited subscription. I don't think an audiobook is even available, which would explain why you can't do an audiobook with the subscription, because audiobook isn't an option. This book is The Lone Dragon Knight, book one of the Dragon Knight series by D.C. Clemens. It's got dragons, it's fantasy. I was looking for a fantasy book that I might be interested in. I don't know. I picked it up. I really honestly, like, I look at the summary of a book at the time that I'm thinking about getting it, but then as soon as that book is in the bag on my shelf, wherever, there goes the summary. I don't remember what it's about. I just remember very small snippets, like this one involves dragons. That's how my brain works. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Some Kindle Unlimited books that I got this year and have read this year. The Red Sword, from the Red Sword trilogy, the book 1. This book I remember was just alright. It's about a cursed sword that anyone killed by the sword is absorbed into the sword, and there's a necromancer king that is trying to, like, wipe out some special magic land or something. It was interesting enough that I finished the book, but eh. And the Red Sword, I don't think I mentioned, is by Michael Wallace. I also grabbed Blood Gamble and Shadowhunt, the second and third books, respectively, in the Disrupted Magic trilogy by Melissa F. Olson. This trilogy, it comes after the first trilogy. I don't know if I'm making any kind of sense with that. I can't think of the name of the first trilogy. The first book, however, is Dead Spots. It follows a character who is known as a Null, and if a vampire or werewolf or witch gets within her radius, like, she radiates a, like, nullified magic area. So a vampire would no longer be a vampire and would have to suddenly breathe to live, and a werewolf would no longer be a werewolf. So if he was already transformed in a werewolf, suddenly coming into her radius would automatically transform back into a human. Witches don't really have much of an effect from the nullification, but they can't perform those, serious, stronger spells, or if a spell had been cast on an area, the character walks by and the spell would be nullified. The spell would no longer have an effect on that area. But the craziness that goes on around this Null from the magic worlds is kind of crazy. She is tasked with cleaning up the messes of the magic world, so a werewolf loses control and accidentally bites and kills somebody. The character would be called in to clean up the mess. And I remember in Dead Spots, she is blamed for the death of one of the magic people and then must prove her innocence. The next book that I read from Kindle Unlimited is The Fire Queen Book 2 by Emily R. King. The first book was The 100th Queen, where I think he's just like a Raja, but the king of the land wants to imitate the gods or a particular god, and he takes on 100 wives and 100 whores, basically. And they all must fight to be, like, wife number 1. They're kind of, like, ranked in order. And he's not a very good ruler. He's, yeah, so this is about taking that king, down and, like, overthrowing him or killing him. But you'll have to read the book to find out how that works out. Although after the second book, I'm not sure I'm going to continue. I didn't really, enjoy the second book as much as the first book. This next book, I don't know what I was thinking when I picked it up, but I am not sorry I picked it up. It is Champions of the Dragon, Epic Fallacy Book 1 by Michael James Plouffe. This had a, like, not Rick and Morty. This had a Monty Python kind of humor to it, and yet the story was serious at the same time. It's about champions that are chosen from 5 different areas, 5 different cities of the kingdom area that are chosen to take on a dragon. What these champions don't know is that the champions are usually dragon fodder. And every year that this occurs, it is the cities nominating individuals of their city that they no longer want in the area. For example, there is an orc in this, I think she's an orc, in the group, but because she took on some very strong monster, she was awarded free food for her life. So anything she wants to eat, she gets for free, and she's eating this town out of house and home, basically. She is eating non-stop. If there is not something in her mouth, she needs to put something in her mouth. So she is nominated as the city's representative so that she can go die and they can have food for the winter. But these heroes end up working together to face battles along their journey to the dragon and start believing in themselves, start maybe finding, their rhythm and stuff, and maybe they'll actually win in this fight against the dragon. But after reading the first book, we don't get to the dragon fight, so we'll have to continue on to see what happens. I also picked up books 2 and 3 in the Tracy Crosswhite trilogy, which are Her Final Breath and In the Clear. The first book of this trilogy is My Sister's Grave, where it was very weird reading it because the sister's name is Sarah, and in the story, Sarah is murdered, and Tracy ends up waiting like 2 decades before her sister's body is found, and she hopes that she can finally know what happened to her sister. And it's a very interesting story because she has become a police officer and kind of has always been doing her own investigation of her sister's murder. Those are the books I picked up in the first half of the year. Have you read any of these books? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you soon in a new video. TTFN!